Chapter 13:18. Gu Mingming neither shook her head nor nodded. She was struggling internally. Gu Mingming knew that she was not that saintly to say that Leah should save Miranda. Leah and Miranda did not have that kind of relationship, and he had no reason to save her. Moreover, if Leah went to save Miranda, Miranda would be even more certain that Leah liked her, and would probably pester Leah to mate with her. Damn it, she still wanted to mate with her son after sleeping with him. What kind of twisted ethical relationship was that? Just thinking about it made her feel disgusted. Leah was right not to get involved in this. However, as a female, she was imprisoned in a small room, being pressed down on by someone she didn't like, and being forced to do whatever he wanted. She struggled to no avail, hoping that her beloved would step on a rainbow cloud and descend like a hero to take her away from the abyss. However, her beloved was indifferent and didn't even look at her. Thinking about it this way, she was indeed quite helpless and pitiful. Everyone's standpoint was different, so the things they saw and the impact they felt were different. Gu Mingming could not use right or wrong to judge who was right or wrong. She just felt uncomfortable, as if a bowl of paste was stuck in her chest, and she could not say anything. Leah held on to Gu Mingming's hand and did not let go. He stared at Gu Mingming with his long and narrow eyes and said word by word, "Mingming, I am not a kind person and I do not have the compassion to save the world. My goodness will only be given to you alone. Other than you, I will not even look at anyone else who falls into the swamp of hell in front of me. I don't have any extra emotions to use on anyone else other than you. Do you understand?" Gu Mingming nodded and did not say a word. Leah heaved a sigh of relief and chuckled. "Mingming, you are very kind and treat everyone well. But I am different. I am selfish by nature, and only treat you well. I know I am not worthy of you, but I am sorry. I cannot let go of you because the moment you leave me, my heart will shatter into pieces." Gu Mingming bent down and kissed Li's forehead. "You are not unworthy of me. You are very good, really very good." Leah raised his head and kissed Gu Mingming's little mouth in satisfaction. It was not a deep kiss, but it was very beautiful. "I was extremely afraid that you would despise and hate me after knowing the secret of the Snow Fox clan. Luckily you didn't." Leah heaved a long sigh of relief and said, "Now I have no more secrets from you. You won't have a reason to abandon me in the future." Gu Mingming smiled helplessly and shook her head. "I have never thought of abandoning you." "You do." Li's gaze was filled with accusation. "During the coldest winter, you said you didn't want me anymore." "You were the one who abandoned me first," Gu Mingming retorted. Leah snuggled into Gu Mingming's arms and said, "Yeah, I was the one who courted death first. So I was punished. Mingming, do you know? Even if one's heart was as hard as a boulder, with copper skin and iron bones, in the end, they still couldn't resist the words, 'I don't love you anymore.' Promise me. Never say this sentence to me ever again, alright?" Gu Mingming nodded. She felt that the atmosphere was too mushy, so she changed the topic. "But the Snow Fox clan has such liberal views on sex. Why would you be chased out of Sodor just because you appeared on Milan's bed? This kind of matter, compared to the mass estrus in the secret tunnel, isn't it not worth mentioning?" Chapter 13:19. The dirtier and dirtier the inside, the more they want to look noble and bright on the surface. Mass estrus is Sodor's biggest secret. To cover up this secret, they tried their best to portray the Snow Fox tribe as pure and holy, seeking a noble and empty reputation in the beast world. They carried out their despicable deeds with an air of arrogance. Gu Mingming was stunned for a moment before saying, "So they want to be whores while maintaining a chastity?" Leah nodded and said, "Yeah, something like that." Gu Mingming remained silent for a moment before asking again, "Leah, let me ask you. In the past mass estrus incidents, did anything like what happened between your father and Miranda? Did they not interact much in the past, and suddenly become stubborn after one round of pleasure?" Leah shook his head and said, "Who can tell who is who in a mass estrus situation? They just don't have any rationality and don't want to vent their beastly desires. Most of them are fine after coming out, and can't even tell who is the person they have been with for a month. Who would suddenly become stubborn?" Gu Mingming nodded and bit her lower lip lightly as she fell into deep thought. Leah looked into Gu Mingming's eyes and asked, What are you thinking about? Gu Mengmeng was brought back to her senses by Leah. She hesitated for a moment before continuing. Do you think your father's sudden stubbornness towards Miranda could be Cole's doing? Leah frowned and his brain was working furiously. His eyes lit up and he said, You mean the bewitching spell? Gu Mengmeng nodded and said, Under normal circumstances, it is very difficult for a high-level witch doctor like your father to fall for it. But mass estrus happened in an airtight environment like the secret tunnel, so the purity of the fox's seductive fragrance must be unprecedentedly high. As long as the timing is right, the success rate of casting the bewitching spell is very high. This is the only way to explain why your father suddenly became interested in the partner he had originally arranged for you, and was so stubborn to lock her up and make her his. Leah nodded in agreement. Suddenly he smiled and said, So my beast father's death was not caused by him vomiting blood after seeing me and Miranda having an affair. It was because of the bewitching spell. Ha, I only know that I am innocent, but I never thought that I have been carrying the blame for Cole all these years. You've never thought about it? Gu Mengmeng was a little surprised. By right, with Li's intelligence, there was no reason he could not think of this. Leah shook his head and said, I knew it was Cole who set me up, but I did not think about Beast Father's death. I really thought that I had angered Beast Father to death, and felt guilty for many years. Gu Mengmeng patted Li's shoulder lightly and said, It's all in the past, don't think about it anymore. Leah chuckled and pinched Gu Mengmeng's little face. Silly girl, didn't I already say? The only one who can make me sad in this world is you. As long as you don't leave me, nothing can hurt me. Gu Mengmeng smiled and nodded, agreeing that she would not leave him. Then she asked, But this Miranda suddenly appeared. How should we deal with her? Chapter 13:20. Then how do you plan to deal with it? Gu Mengmeng asked softly. Leah grinned at Gu Mengmeng and said, Do you know how afraid I am that you will misunderstand me? I definitely don't want to be involved in such scandals. I will contact the other tribes later, and use Miranda to exchange for some food before winter. Gu Mengmeng frowned and said, Usually, don't only females who have committed a grave mistake will be traded to the other tribes as goods? Will the Snow Fox tribe agree to it? If you deal with Miranda like this? Probably not. Leah chuckled and said, Now the Snow Fox tribe, Wolf tribe and the 16 tribes are in a stalemate, each with their own territory. Jiaoya's little trick at the night campfire helped the 16 tribes to come out on top. And Elvis also led the Wolf tribe to show off his prowess during the food storage hunt. If I trade Miranda as a commodity at this time, it will undoubtedly be a slap to the Snow Fox tribe's face. Those old fellows will not let it go so easily. Then you still. Leah smiled with his eyes squinted. He wrapped one arm around Gu Mengmeng's neck and pulled her in front of him. He kissed her eyes and said, No matter how troublesome the situation is, it can't be compared to you frowning to make me feel helpless. As long as I don't make things difficult for you, what does other people's reputation have to do with me? If they are unhappy, don't acknowledge me as the Ninth Highness. I did not beg them to acknowledge me as their ancestor. It was them who refused to let go of me, the messenger's partner, and insisted on getting close to me. Gu Mengmeng held Li's face and kissed him on the lips. She said, Why don't I be the bad guy and say that I am jealous and cannot tolerate Miranda? I want to see who dares to criticize me. Leah shook his head and said, Who would push their own female out to be the scapegoat? If you become the bad guy, Elvis and I will not be able to face anyone in the future. Moreover, it was my intention. If I dare to do it, I am not afraid to admit it. Only when I personally give this order can I prove that I have no evil intentions towards Miranda. No matter what intentions she has, I will wake her up as soon as possible. I did not save her that year, and I will not care about her life now. I'm afraid it's too late. Elvis, who had been silent all along, leaned against the door and said softly. Leah and Gu Mengmeng both looked up at him in confusion. Elvis said, The wild wolf I left behind to watch over Miranda has just reported that Miranda has already met with the elders of the Snow Fox clan. So fast. Leah frowned and straightened his back. He was stunned for 2 seconds before he smiled. That's true. Cole's plan is not something I can reject easily. It doesn't matter. Since acting first and reporting later won't work, then I'll just bully others with my power. Let me go with you, Gu Mingming asked. Leah nodded. You naturally have to accompany me when I'm dealing with Miranda's matter. Just in case there's a situation where I can't explain myself clearly and someone tries to sow discord in front of you. By then, even if you believe a word or two, it would be like stabbing a knife into my heart. Gu Mingming looked straight into Li's eyes and held his hand, saying, Leah, you have to know one thing. Anyway, Miranda had already met the elders, so Leah was not in a rush. He might as well accompany Gu Mingming for a while longer. Only when he looked at her did he feel that life was not so terrible. Chapter 13:21. Both of you are the people I love. No matter what I hear or see, I will always choose to believe both of you at the first instance. No matter how much evidence is thrown in my face, as long as you say no, I will believe you. So don't be so cautious and fearful. I will not try to understand my lover from other people's mouths. Leah and Elvis both smiled and nodded. They kissed Gu Mingming's cheeks and replied gently, all right. Gu Mingming then nodded and said, go and settle Miranda's matter. If my presence can make you feel at ease, I will accompany you. If you are just afraid that someone will sow discord and use this as a pretext, I don't think there is a need. Leah chuckled and circled his large tail around Gu Mingming's waist. He said, what if I say, I want to see you be jealous because of me? Just like that time in Saint Nazaire when you fought with Nina because of me. That kind of you made me feel so blissful that I could fly. So I feel very conflicted. On one hand, I hope that you will be jealous because of Miranda. On the other hand, I am extremely afraid that you will misunderstand our relationship. TSK, I don't even know what I want. Gu Mingming rolled up her sleeves and said, you want to see me fight with other females because of you? All right, I will satisfy you. But you have to answer a question of mine first. Yeah, I will tell you everything I know. Gu Mingming placed her hands on her waist and said, you still haven't told me why Miranda cares about you, Aya? Gu Mingming emphasized the word Aya, causing Leah to laugh out loud. He moved closer to Gu Mingming's ear and bit her earlobe. He said softly, because she is shameless. She actually stole the nickname that belongs to you. Gu Mingming, you have to snatch it back. Gu Mingming raised her brows and looked at the unreasonable Leah. Leah smiled in a flattering manner and said in a flirtatious manner, everything I have belongs to you, including any nickname. That Miranda took it without asking and treated it as a thief. So you never agreed to let her call you that, right? Gu Mingming asked. Leah nodded seriously and said, why would I allow her to give me a nickname when I'm avoiding her? All right then. Don't feel bad when we start tearing at each other. Leah kissed Gu Mingming's face lightly and said, I will only feel sorry for you for being tired. I don't care about other people's lives. Gu Mingming nodded. Let's go. The family of three exited the stone castle, and a huge pack of wolves followed them. As usual, they stopped outside the meeting room while Leah carried Gu Mingming into the meeting room. In the meeting room, Miranda was sitting on the foot of Gu Mingming's seat, crying her heart out. A group of elders were standing 2 steps away, filled with righteous indignation. The moment Gu Mingming entered, she heard one of the elders consoling Miranda. You are the precious female of our Snow Fox tribe, and also have the noblest bloodline. The responsibility of continuing the deity's child depends on your belly, so don't worry no matter what, we will not let him do anything rash. Gu Mingming laughed coldly and said, I wonder if the beloved child that elder is referring to is my Leah? Once Gu Mingming said that, the meeting room became so quiet that even a pin drop could be heard. The face of the elder who had just finished speaking turned pale, obviously feeling guilty. Chapter 13:22. As if Miranda had an infectious disease, he said, Who do you think you are? How dare you lay your hands on the seat of the tribe leader? Miranda's shoulders shook in aggrievement as she sobbed softly. She replied with an infinitely sorrowful and pitiful tone. Aya, you've misunderstood me. It's because I fell outside and hurt my leg, and I couldn't stand up, and I cried so hard that I fainted. That's why the elders brought me here to sit and rest. I didn't covet the seat of the chief of the tribe. How would I dare? Yet don't be angry, I will leave immediately, all right? As Miranda spoke, she pretended to be strong and stood up. But before she could straighten her knees, her entire body tilted to the side, and she fell onto the ground again. Sob sob. Yeah, I'm in so much pain. You're the witch doctor, can you help me? My leg, it must be hurt. Yeah, can you help me up, please? Miranda looked at Leah with watery eyes. This snow fox's seductive beauty had turned into a Lin Dayu style of crying, making her look even more pitiful. Gu Mingming couldn't help but applaud Miranda in her heart. She would definitely be a movie queen in the modern world. She had looks and acting skills. It would be unforgivable if she didn't win an award. This snow fox tribe, they don't care about rules anymore. They don't even care about seniority anymore, right? Gu Mingming had a faint smile on her face. She spoke slowly and calmly, but it made the group of elders tremble with fear. They exchanged glances and knelt down in unison. We pay our respects to the great messenger. Actually, Gu Mingming had always been unwilling to let others kneel down to her, especially these old foxes. They all looked older than her grandfather, and she was afraid that her life would be shortened if they knelt down to her like that. But if the other party didn't respect their elders and took advantage of their seniority, then it would be another matter. If you don't respect yourself, then who would respect you? So you guys still know that I'm the messenger of the beast deity. I thought I had been amiable for too long, and you guys had long forgotten my identity. We don't dare. The few old foxes were all shrewd. How could they not hear the sarcasm in Gu Mingming's words? Although they thought highly of themselves, or maybe it was because Gu Mingming had been too kind for too long that they had forgotten their status, but they could not ignore Miranda's matter. Hence, they temporarily put down their pride and wanted to appease Gu Mingming first. Gu Mingming glanced at Miranda from the corner of her eyes. Still maintaining her elegant smile, she asked, "You don't worship me because you don't have me in your eyes? Or because you don't even care about the beast deity?" This accusation was a little too heavy. However, his father had said that he would be a fool not to rely on such a big backer. As his biological daughter, she should not rely on her father to bully others. No, it's not like that. Miranda only. Because she was injured. Miranda looked like a weak little white flower, like a pitiful female lead who was bullied by an evil mother-in-law in Xiangyao dramas. She crawled towards Gu Mingming miserably. Her hands crossed on the ground and her forehead touched the back of her hands. She bowed to Gu Mingming like an ancient woman meeting an emperor. Her voice was filled with the tone of a submissive little girl. Miranda from the Snow Fox tribe greets the great messenger. Chapter 13:23. Gu Mingming didn't ask everyone to get up, and just smiled. She didn't look angry at all, but pressured the old fox from the Snow Fox clan, and Miranda so much that they couldn't breathe. She waved her hands and said, "Leah, put me down." Leah obeyed and put Gu Mingming down. Then he and Elvis stood behind Gu Mingming, following her every step. Gu Mingming walked past Miranda, and stood in front of the stone chair. She smiled and gave it a punch. With a clang, the stone chair shattered into pieces and couldn't be pieced back together to its original state. This sudden sound gave Miranda a fright. She shrunk back and stared at Gu Mingming in fear. The elders were also surprised, as if they couldn't figure out Gu Mingming's plan. Gu Mingming patted the dust off her hands and said, "I have a weird habit. I don't like others to touch my things. If someone touches it, I will destroy that person along with that thing. On account that it's your first offense today, Miranda, I will only destroy the chair and let you off. If there's a next time, I will crush you more thoroughly than this chair." Miranda knelt there, and trembled like a sieve. She looked at Gu Mingming as if she was about to cry. Gu Mingming smiled and said, "You don't have to be so afraid. I am not an unreasonable person. Since you like this chair, then take it. Now I am giving it to you. I am representing the beast deity to reward you. You have to cherish it. If even a piece of broken stone is missing, it would be a crime of looking down on the beast deity. If you understand, then come over to receive your reward." Miranda looked at the pile of broken stones and tears streamed down her face. She cried like a pear blossom covered by rain. She was definitely crying like a fairy. She gently rubbed the spot 2 fingers below her eyes and said with extreme grievance, "Aya, quickly help me explain to the great messenger. The great messenger really misunderstood me. I did not covet the great messenger's position." Sobs. "Aya, what's wrong with you? Quickly help me explain." Gu Mengmeng placed her finger on her lips and made a shushing gesture. Seeing that Miranda had shut up, she then said, "You can't reject the messenger's reward. No matter what you want to say, just accept the reward first. Remember, you have to personally move them away piece by piece and place them properly. If you continue to talk nonsense, I will take it that you are looking down on the beast deity." Miranda bit her lower lip, her eyes never leaving Li's face. Seeing that he had no intention of speaking up for her, and was instead looking at Gu Mengmeng in admiration, a venomous hatred flashed across her eyes. But she hid it very well. It was just a flash and was immediately suppressed. He kowtowed again and said, "Thank you, Lord Envoy, for your reward." With that, she really started to move the broken stones with her bare hands. She did not forget to put on a gentle and stubborn look while moving them. Tsk, how lovable. Gu Mengmeng shifted her gaze away from Miranda's face and landed on the elders who were still kneeling on the ground. She swept her gaze across and stopped at Elder Eugene, who had just comforted Miranda. Chuckling, Gu Mengmeng said, "Elder Eugene, you have not answered my question. You mentioned the favored son just now. Are you referring to my Leah?" Chapter 13:24. But Leah smiled and replied, 300 years ago, I am the only deity's beloved. If you are not talking about me, then are you talking about the witch doctor from 300 years ago?" Elder Eugene lowered his head respectfully and replied, "Yes, I am talking about the Ninth Highness." Gu Mengmeng had an icy look on her face and frowned slightly. She asked in confusion, "Then, why does the continuation of my Li's bloodline depend on Miranda's stomach? How could a sly old fox like Eugene not understand?" Gu Mengmeng smashed that chair just now to fix Miranda, and to intimidate herself was secondary. She used that chair to warn herself that if they dared to send Miranda to Li's bed, then that chair would be the fate of the entire Snow Fox tribe. If this threat came from someone else, Eugene could just scoff coldly and say bring it on. But the one who said this was Gu Mengmeng. She had the capital and the ability, not to mention her Wolf King partner, and that perversely strong snake beast friend, even the Ninth Highness of the Snow Fox tribe himself. He would not hesitate to massacre the entire Snow Fox tribe with just one command from Gu Mengmeng. This was supposed to be a secret plan, but Gu Mengmeng overheard it due to his carelessness. It was too late to deny it now. Eugene deliberated for a while and decided to make things clear. He knelt down and said, "Mighty messenger, you may not know, but the deity's beloved is the most noble bloodline in the Snow Fox tribe and must be inherited. And Miranda is one of the purest females in the Snow Fox tribe. So, in order to continue this noble bloodline, we need to borrow Miranda's stomach to give birth to a litter of cubs for the Ninth Highness. Of course, the emissary's status is noble, and as the emissary's companion, your Ninth Highness naturally shouldn't keep a concubine. So as long as Miranda continues your Highness's bloodline, this subordinate is willing to personally kill Miranda to prevent future troubles. Borrow someone else's stomach to give birth to a child." Gu Mengmeng chuckled and shook her head. She said indifferently, "Mighty Eugene, you are so scheming. If this was in ancient times, wouldn't he be a chief eunuch? Or someone like Zhao Gao? This is also to allow the Snow Fox tribe to grow stronger, so that we can continue to serve the mighty messenger better. Please understand." "What if I don't understand?" Gu Mengmeng chuckled. "I have always been a petty person. What makes you think I can tolerate other females bearing children for my man? As soon as the child is born, Miranda will be executed immediately. She will not pose any threat to the Lord Emissary. Moreover, the Ninth Highness is deeply in love with the great messenger, so he won't fall in love with someone else because of a child." Gu Mengmeng laughed coldly and said, "There are two things that Elder Eugene is mistaken about. First, regardless of whether Miranda was alive or dead, she posed no threat to me. Second, My man, in any matter, in any aspect. It is not your turn to arrange. Do you really think you can take advantage of your seniority just because you're an elder? Gu Mingming's gaze swept across all the elders kneeling on the ground, and she said word by word, I'll say it here today. I, Gu Mingming, am a person with a lot of problems. I hold grudges and have misophobia, especially when it comes to men. Whoever dares to extend their claws towards my man, I guarantee that they won't be able to return. Chapter 1325. Gu Mingming had always been planning to give birth to a nest of little foxes for Leah, but that was one thing. Being forced to give birth by others made her very unhappy. Gu Mingming leaned into Li's arms and asked with a smile, What if I don't want to give birth? The elders all knelt in a row in unison and said, Then, Great Messenger, please allow Miranda to stay and continue the 9th Highness bloodline. Gu Mingming laughed coldly and said, If all of you say that, I can't keep this Miranda. Leah, spread the news that Sauter wants to sell a perfect female from the Snowfox tribe. She has good looks and a healthy body, and is the best choice for bearing children. Yeah, she should be able to sell for a good price. All right. Leah answered gently without any hesitation. Miranda, who had just finished moving the last piece of broken stone, returned. She heard Gu Mingming's final verdict the moment she entered, and her weak body slumped to the ground. Tears flowed down her cheeks like pearls from a broken necklace. She looked at Leah with a heart full of resentment and said, Aya, how could you do this to me? For the sake of our past relationship, you should at least speak up for me. Even if you have a new lover now, at least I was once engaged to you. How can you just watch as the Great Messenger sells me off? Gu Mingming took 2 steps forward and squatted in front of Miranda. She pinched Miranda's chin and scrutinized it, saying, If your teeth are knocked out, will you not be able to sell them for a good price? With that, Gu Mingming slapped Miranda's face with the back of her hand. One of her teeth loosened, and Miranda spat it out together with blood. Miranda did not expect Gu Mingming to hit her, and was so stunned that she even forgot to cry. She just stared at Gu Mingming in a daze. I don't like it when you give my man nicknames so casually. It makes me very unhappy. Gu Mingming pinched Miranda, whose mouth was full of blood, and asked with a smile, Didn't Cole tell you that I have a bad temper when he sent you here? Don't provoke me if you want to stay alive. No. Miranda started trembling at the mention of Cole. It was different from her previous pitiful act. This time, she was really trembling, and her face turned green instantly. She shook her head with all her might and said, Cole didn't send me here. I escaped by myself, really. Miranda crawled towards Leah as she spoke. She reached out to grab onto Li's ankle, but Leah took a step back, causing her to fall onto the ground. Her eyes were bloodshot and tears and mucus were dripping down her face. She cried extremely pathetically and shook her head desperately while shouting, Aya, 9th Highness, I really escaped by myself. I went through so much trouble to escape from Cole's clutches and come back to see you. I beg you, don't sell me. This is the only place in the entire beast world that Cole doesn't dare to come to. I can only stay in Sauter to avoid that devil. I beg you, let me stay, save me. Gu Mingming and Leah exchanged glances. Looking at Miranda, who was crying so hard that the veins on her neck were popping out, they both believed that Miranda was speaking the truth now. The subtle reactions on her body were the most honest, and it was not something that could be deceived by acting. But what kind of person was Cole? The person he imprisoned could escape so easily? Ha! Who would believe that? Gu Mingming was not a heartless person, but she understood the principle of not looking out for herself. Chapter 1326. No woman would keep a woman who wanted to climb into her man's bed by her side, right? At least Gu Mingming knew she could not do it. Keep your tears, I have no sympathy for my love rivals. Gu Mingming walked towards Leah and allowed him to pull her into his arms. He used his arm to support her and hugged her like a child. Gu Mingming used Li's height to look down on him. Find a buyer within 3 days and sell Miranda. This is the order of the messenger of the beast deity. Anyone who disobeys will die. With that, Gu Mingming glanced at the group of elders and smiled. Don't provoke me if it's really for the good of the Snow Fox tribe. Otherwise, it's not difficult for me to make a tribe disappear without a trace in this boundless world." With that, Gu Mingming suddenly released some beast pressure, and then quickly retracted it. Elvis stood behind Leah without anyone noticing and supported him secretly. The other elders were not so lucky and were directly pressed onto the ground, unable to get up. Miranda was a female and did not feel anything from the beast pressure. She just sat there bawling her eyes out. Seeing that Gu Mingming and Leah were about to leave, she shouted at the top of her lungs, "Ninth Highness, is liking you such a heinous thing?" Leah did not reply, nor did he pause. He just carried Gu Mingming out of the meeting room. When he came out, he saw Hutta and Jiaoyu guarding the door. Their expressions did not look too good. They must have been affected by Gu Mingming's pressure just now. Leah said, "Make arrangements to sell Miranda within 3 days. The price is negotiable and the further the better." Jiaoyu shook his head. "Daddy Leah, you are really heartless." Leah glared at Jiaoyu and said with a serious expression, "Don't joke about this." Jiaoyu shrugged. "I know you are henpecked. You don't have to be so obvious." Gu Mingming did not say a word. She just laid on Li's shoulders and looked a little dazed. How should she put it? Logic told her that her decision was right. This Miranda had impure intentions towards Leah, and was also involved with Cole. From the moment they met till now, she had put on a pitiful act. It was true that she was afraid of Cole, but she did not rule out the possibility that Cole had let her come to solder because he knew this was the case to gain Gu Mingming's sympathy. Gu Mingming had Wang Xiaoxin's psychological knowledge, and the success rate of lying to Gu Mingming was about the same as buying a lottery ticket. So if one wanted to succeed, there must be at least 80% true information mixed with at most 20% true motives. Then, Miranda's identity was real. Her fear of Cole was real and her escape was real. At least Cole had made her think that she had escaped on her own. In the entire beast world, solder was the only place that Cole did not dare to go near because of Gu Mingming's presence. As an escaped prisoner who was afraid of Cole, solder was naturally the best choice. Moreover, Leah, whom Miranda had been pining for, was here. So Cole just had to create a chance for Miranda to escape. Her only destination would be solder. But Gu Mingming could not understand why Cole had arranged for Miranda to come to solder. Was it just to create trouble for Leah and drive a wedge between their relationship? In this matter, Miranda was undoubtedly just a chess piece. But once she was on the chessboard, who could be considered innocent? Both of them had their own reasons. Both of them had no choice but to do so. Chapter 13:27. Gu Mingming nodded and said, Did I go overboard? Miranda looks a little pitiful." Leah kissed Gu Mingming's forehead and said, "Silly girl. If any males continue to pester you when you don't like them, Elvis and I will be much crueler than what you did today. But you are born soft-hearted and kind. I am already very satisfied that you can do this for me. Yeah, today is the second happiest day of my life." Gu Mingming could not smile and could only look at Leah and ask, "Second happiest? Then what about the happiest day?" "Of course it's the day I mate with you and leave my mark on your ear." Leah smiled ambiguously and hugged Gu Mingming, kissing her left ear and said, "Gu Mingming, leave Miranda's matter to me. I enjoy the sight of you being jealous because of me, but I can't bear to see you make things difficult for yourself, doing things you are not good at and don't like." Actually, Gu Mingming lowered her head. She could not deny that Leah was right. Gu Mingming had never been a white lotus, but the education she received had a moral bottom line. She clearly knew that Miranda came to solder with Cole's motives. Once she was thrown out, based on Cole's behavior, Miranda would definitely die. She felt a sense of guilt for pushing someone to their death, just to protect her own love. Gu Mingming. Leah pulled Gu Mingming's hand to his lips and kissed it, saying, "Do you know? I was so afraid that you would suddenly change the way you speak. This makes me feel as if the whole world doesn't want me anymore. I should not have forced you to do things you are not good at. I was too greedy. Forgive me this once, all right?" Gu Mingming's lips twitched and said, "It's not your fault. I was the one who insisted on handling it. I was the one who fought fiercely and now I am the one who feels guilty. I also don't know why I am being unreasonable. I just can't tolerate her. But I also didn't want to kill her. Leah patted Gu Mingming's back gently, comforting her while thinking. After a while, Leah said, maybe there's a place where she can never return and Cole can't hurt her. Gu Mingming looked up and asked, where? Leah replied, Mota Mountains. Gu Mingming's eyes brightened. He was right. The terrain of the Mota Mountains was so steep that even beast kings like her and Elvis could not climb up, much less a crippled beast like Cole. As long as they sent Miranda to the Mota Mountains, she would not be able to come down and Cole would not be able to go up. She would not be able to come back to harass Leah and Cole would not be able to kill her. Gu Mingming's mood brightened up instantly. She smiled. Just nice. I took the love of the sky that they were guarding at the Mota Mountains and left them a snow fox female with pure bloodline. It's considered returning the favor. After all, birds could not go down the mountain as they pleased. And from what Ian and Gregory said, the ratio of males and females on Mota Mountains was stricter than any other tribe in the beast world. Sending a female up would be considered a huge gift. But Gregory has been gone for a long time. How do we send him off now? Leah smiled. We don't have a way, but the beast deity definitely has a way. The beast deity must know how that Lord got in touch with Gregory. Chapter 13:28. Leah chuckled. Then locked Miranda up and announced to the public that she has already been sold. Next year, during the monsoon season, we will bring her along when we go to the Mota Mountains and deliver it personally. How about that? Gu Mingming nodded. Leah, do you think I am being too selfish? Just because she likes you, I can't tolerate her. Am I being too petty? Leah stroked Gu Mingming's hair. Silly girl, have you forgotten what I said? Your selfishness is what I yearn for in my dreams. I can't wait for you to be more selfish. The more you can't tolerate others liking me, it means that you care for me even more. This makes me feel very secure and happy. Why would I think you are bad? Gu Mingming didn't say anything else. She just snuggled in Lee's arms for a while. As the weather turned colder, the day of Wabiai's return to the Snake King Valley drew near. Today, Wabiai, who had gone out hunting to help Gu Mingming store food, swam back lazily. He threw 2 wild boars to Leah and swam over to Gu Mingming nonchalantly. He reached out and poked Gu Mingming's head twice, feeling very happy. This little action was something he had been doing ever since he was stained with Gu Mingming's blood, and was no longer afraid of her. Every time they met, he would poke her head twice to make sure that he was really not afraid of her. If he didn't poke her, he would feel very uneasy. Gu Mingming was used to his poking and couldn't be bothered to be calculative. After poking Gu Mingming, Wabiai felt completely at ease. He sat against the wall and said nonchalantly, Your little fox guessed correctly. After I swam a sufficient distance, that cripple indeed appeared. Although he is a 5th-level beast, he is clearly much weaker than me. I had almost reached the Snake King Valley before he dared to show himself. Wabiai had said before that he was afraid of her, and hovered around the borders of Sauter, not daring to enter. Meanwhile, Cole should be hiding further away and unable to get close. Wabiai was judging the strength of his fear of her based on the distance between them. Although hiding in the Snake King Valley was definitely an exaggeration, but it was inevitable that Cole could get closer to her than Wabiai. But Gu Mingming did not feel that it was entirely a problem of strength. There was also a certain degree of psychological effect. Although Wabiai was fearful of Gu Mingming, he knew very well that Gu Mingming would never hurt him. But Cole was different. Other than the fear in his bones, he also had a psychological fear because he knew very well that Gu Mingming really wanted to kill him. But Gu Mingming didn't tell Wabiai about this. This longworm was about to go into hibernation again. She would let him be arrogant for a while longer. Tilting her head, Gu Mingming nodded in agreement and said, Yeah, my little shit is naturally extraordinarily strong. How can a dung beetle compare to him, right? Wabiai pondered for a while and asked, Are you complimenting me? Gu Mingming nodded solemnly, her face full of sincerity. Wabiai chuckled. Now do you know how powerful I am? Gu Mingming was speechless as she held back her laughter. Then she asked, Did you act according to what Leah taught you? Wabiai nodded repeatedly and slapped his thigh with a smile. Let me tell you, acting as Snake's little daddy feels really good, Gu Mingming chuckled speechlessly. Leah placed the wild boar at the side and walked over to sit beside Gu Mingming. He looked at Wabi and asked, "Then what was his reaction when he found out that you had become partners with the previous messenger of the beast deity?" Chapter 1329. Gu Mingming facepalmed and looked at Leah. "Will this work? Why do I feel that little shit is so unreliable?" Leah shook his head gently. He fiddled with Gu Mingming's fingers for a moment before replying, "No, it's better this way. Isn't it because of what you said? A real man never looks back. A blazing fire and drifting wind await him?" Gu Mingming chuckled. "A real man never looks back at an explosion." Leah nodded. "That's exactly what I meant." Wabi snorted. "Can the two of you speak like a human?" Gu Mingming replied. "What Leah means is that if you don't observe Cole's reaction, Cole will instead believe what you say. He is too smart. As long as you try to guess something, he can imagine the entire classic of mountains and seas. His physique, which is a combination of demons and ghosts, is too good at guessing people's minds. Instead, it's because you left him a suave and proud back view that he will believe that you have really become partners with Wang Xiaoxin. After all, marrying the previous messenger of the beast deity is even more eye-catching than marrying me. You have the right to be arrogant." Wabi stood up abruptly. He turned around with his back facing Gu Mingming. Isn't this suave?" He changed his angle and asked again. "How about this? Proud and aloof? I am too handsome, am I?" Gu Mingming replied. "My movements are sluggish and my heart is intoxicated." Leah asked. "What do you mean?" Gu Mingming rolled her eyes at Wabi. "My heart is so tired." Leah laughed and carried Gu Mingming to the door to bask in the sun. Wabi adjusted his posture and angle as he watched Gu Mingming leave. He then chased after her, using all sorts of lighting to calculate the distance. Then he asked Gu Mingming, "Don't you think my back view is the most handsome?" Gu Mingming deeply regretted praising Wabi. The repercussions were worse than being afraid of her. Elvis returned from outside and took Gu Mingming from Lee's arms. Leah went to prepare lunch. Elvis glanced at Wabi. "What's wrong with him?" Gu Mingming said, "Ignore him, he's having a fit." Elvis chuckled and nodded his head, saying, "All the females of the Wolf clan should be here, a total of 27 of them. Tomorrow, there might be other families with Wolf clan males joining us, so we've marked out a piece of land in the old land of the 16 tribes for the Wolf clan to stay in. The cave has already been dug, but the new cave is more damp and cold, which is a problem. But I've already taught them to use fire to dry the cave, so it should be able to temporarily get through the winter. But now that winter is coming, I'm afraid we won't have enough food." Gu Mingming thought for a while and said, "We have a lot of food reserves at home. Why don't we give a portion to these 27 females? At least we have to ensure that all 27 of them are still alive when winter ends next year." Elvis shook his head and said, "You cannot share your food with others." But Leah went along with Elvis's words and said, "I will teach them how to store food. It will be up to them how much food they can store for their own females in these few days. Gu Mingming, don't underestimate the potential of males. For their own females, there's nothing they can't do." Gu Mingming nodded and said, "Then we can only do that. But I don't know if we have enough salt." Chapter 1330. The matter of the female wolf tribe was thus settled. With Elvis and Lee's arrangements, Gu Mingming did not have to worry about it. Miranda was imprisoned by Leah in the secret room where Cole had previously imprisoned Jillian. In order to prevent news from leaking, Leah did not arrange for the snow foxes to guard her. Instead, he got Elvis to arrange for the wolf tribe to watch over her and deliver her meals every day. Miranda was surprisingly obedient. She did not cry or make a fuss in the secret room. The wolf beast reported that she only said one sentence these few days. "In the end, I still could not escape the fate of being imprisoned. But being imprisoned by Ayo is better than being imprisoned by Cole." It was a little self-deceiving, but Gu Mingming still chose to ignore it. She only instructed them to deliver Miranda's meals on time. and ensure that she could safely survive this winter. She did not need to report other trivial matters. Wabi was getting more and more listless every day. Gu Mingming knew that it was time for him to go back. I will send you. Gu Mingming hooked one arm around Wabi's neck and said in a brotherly manner. Wabi snorted. I am the best in the world. Do I need a little female like you to send me? Humph. Gu Mingming thought about it and agreed. She said she was going to send Wabi, but in the end, Elvis had to carry her all the way. All right, go back and have a good sleep this year. Next year, bring back some fruits from the Snake King Valley for me to eat. I want to eat that red one. Do you know about it? Wabi nodded. Yes, the one snake kicked me off the tree to help you pluck. When I return next year, I will bring you the biggest and best one at the top. Gu Mingming nodded. Little shit knows me best. That night, Leah prepared a sumptuous dinner. Gu Mingming took out some of the newly brewed grape wine and poured it into small bamboo cups. Elvis only had 1 cup and Gu Mingming ordered him to drink at most 3 drops in one mouthful. He was not allowed to drink any more after he had finished the cup. Elvis knew that he had violent tendencies when he was drunk. Now that he had the powers of a beast king, Gu Mingming was the only one who could deal with him if he went into a drunken frenzy. Thinking of the possibility of hurting Gu Mingming due to losing control, Elvis treated the red wine as poison. He raised his glass repeatedly, but not a single drop entered his mouth. After an entire winter of training, Lee's alcohol tolerance could reach 1.5 cups. But in order not to lose control, Gu Mingming only gave Lee half a cup of wine, so that he would be slightly tipsy but not drunk. Wabi was the main guest today and naturally wanted to get drunk. So Gu Mingming directly poured a large bowl of wine for Wabi. She didn't seem to care about the wine at all. She drank to her heart's content and didn't want to leave until she was drunk. As for Oriton, who came to freeload, haha, Gu Mingming really wanted to see how he would look like after his poker face was torn off. Anyway, even if he went crazy, a third-level beast would not be able to do anything, so Gu Mingming also gave Oriton a big bowl and filled it to the brim. Gu Mingming used a small bamboo cup for herself. She used it a few times, which made her look more elegant. Wabi looked suspiciously at the big bowl in front of him and the glass of wine in Elvis's arms. He tilted his head at Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming, I say, what are you up to? There's no poison here, right? Gu Mingming raised her head. Unless the bowl in front of you is filled with my blood, what else in this world can poison you to death? Don't be a coward, let's drink. Chapter 1331. Although she had never drunk alcohol before, males were naturally not easy to provoke. Gu Mingming's generous toast made Wabi unwilling to back down. He raised his bowl and said, Humph, do you think I'm afraid of you poisoning me? Let me tell you, even if this bowl is filled with your blood, it will not kill me. Bottoms up. With that, he downed the entire bowl. The red liquid flowed down his windpipe, and a slight spicy sensation spread throughout his entire body. Wabi felt a sense of comfort that he had never experienced before. His pupils involuntarily narrowed into slits and every cell in his body seemed to be gradually awakening. Wabi felt as though a whole new world had opened up to him. He felt like he was floating in the air, wishing for life and death. Oriton held up the stone bowl and sniffed it. It smelled strange. What he liked was meat. Although the color of the juice made from this kind of sour fruit was very similar to blood, which made him feel a kind of excitement, he could tell that the smell was not right, so he couldn't bring himself to drink it. Leah patted Oriton's shoulder and whispered, This is Mingming's baby, do you see it? She was only willing to give me and Elvis this little bit. You only have such a big bowl because of Wabi. Don't be so ungrateful, because if you drink it this time, you might not be able to drink it again. Oriton fully believed in Lee's words, so he nodded and imitated Wabi, downing the bowl in one gulp. Then clang. A tiger fell stiffly to the ground in the same state as Elvis that day. Gu Mingming shook her head in exasperation. I thought I could conquer his poker face. TSK, what a waste of my good wine. Wabi handed the bowl to Gu Mingming. Gu Mingming, I want more. Gu Mingming turned back to look at Wabi in surprise. She took his bowl and scooped another for him. I couldn't tell that you have such a high tolerance for alcohol. Wabiai's tongue had turned into a forked tongue, and he couldn't help sticking it out. He had an extreme desire for the contents of the bowl. After downing another bowl, he was still not satisfied. He handed the bowl back to Gu Mingming with the words "Fill it up for me," clearly written on his face. Gu Mingming's interest was piqued, and she ordered another bowl for Wabiai. She even imitated the waiter and said, "Warrior, 3 bowls is not enough." Wabiai didn't understand what Gu Mingming was saying at all. He clinked his stone bowl against Gu Mingming's little bamboo cup and said, "Less nonsense, cheers." Gu Mingming raised her glass and said, "I'm happy to accompany you." Hence, Wabiai had a big bowl and Gu Mingming a small cup. The two of them drank more and more vigorously, causing Leah and Elvis to tremble in fear and excitement. Who knew what Xiao Mingming would be like when she was drunk? Would she hug them and act coquettishly? Or would she turn into a little devil and whip them? Wabiai and Gu Mingming were drinking enthusiastically when Oratin, who had fainted, suddenly stood up stiffly. Glaring at Leah like a tiger watching its prey, he walked in front of Leah with one hand and one leg and clamped onto Lee's shoulder tightly. "Where's the meat? Where's my meat?" Ugh. Gu Mingming burst out laughing. The alcohol had magnified her emotions by many times. Looking at the drunk Oratin still chasing after Leah with a poker face, Gu Mingming laughed so hard that she was convulsing with joy. Chapter 1332. Gu Mingming was already a little tipsy, but Wabiai was still very energetic. Gu Mingming rubbed her temples and shook her head. "No, I can't drink anymore." Wabiai hooked his arm around Gu Mingming's neck. "You promised to get drunk with me. Can you still go back on your words?" She then leaned against the side of the barrel and hooked her finger at Wabiai. "Little shit, I am not a petty person, do you know? I said that I will drink till I'm drunk, till I'm drunk, till I'm drunk. Come over here, look at this, see, it's all wine. I am a tycoon, do you know that?" Wabiai's eyes widened as he looked at Wabiai and said, "Little shit, I am not a petty person, do you know? I said that I will drink till I'm drunk, till I'm drunk, till I'm drunk, till I'm drunk." Wabiai leaned over to the barrel and took a deep sniff. His face was filled with greed. He looked at Gu Mingming. "This is for me?" Gu Mingming made a pleased gesture. "After you finish this, there's more beside. Do you see? There's so much, you can drink as much as you want." Wabiai held on to Gu Mingming's shoulders with both hands and knocked his head hard against her forehead. "Gu Mingming, you are so loyal. From today onwards, I, little shit, am your friend. Your problems are my problems. I will climb a mountain of swords or plunge into a sea of flames. If I, little shit, even blink, I am your child." Gu Mingming changed her tone. She shook her head and corrected herself. "My partners are wolves and foxes. They can't give birth to such a huge worm like you." Wabiai also shook his head. He turned Gu Mingming's shoulders around and pointed at the back of her neck. "No, you have a partner from the snake tribe. Look, the mark is here. This mark, it looks so familiar. I seem to have seen it somewhere before." Gu Mingming clutched the back of her neck. Realization dawned on her. Yes, I have the mark of the snake tribe on my neck. All right, you are my child from now onwards." Leah and Elvis looked at each other. They didn't know whether to laugh or cry as they watched Gu Mingming and Wabiai spout nonsense in all seriousness. Wabiai thought for a moment. "So you and Snake gave birth to me. Then I mated with Snake's mother and became Snake's little daddy. So between Snake and I, who is whose daddy?" Gu Mingming seemed to have fallen into a trap. She tried to calculate with her hands. Finally, she smacked her head. "You are my daddy." Wabiai nodded. "All right, I am your daddy." Wabiai nodded. "All right, I am your daddy." Wabiai nodded heavily and said, "All right, father, I will drink first to show my respect." After saying that, he plunged his head into the wine barrel and gulped it down. Elvis poked Leah with his elbow and asked, "So who exactly is whose daddy now?" Leah facepalmed. "I haven't passed level 4 or 6 in Chinese, so I don't really understand." With that, he walked forward with a smile and hugged Gu Mingming in his arms. "He won't be able to finish it in such a short time. Go and sleep for a while." Gu Mingming looked at Leah and was stunned for 2 seconds. Then she raised her arm and gave Leah a slap. Demon, return my master. Leah was dumbfounded from the beating. He looked at Elvis innocently and asked, her master is? Elvis thought about it and grabbed Oriton, whose face was swollen from Lee's beating, from the side. I'll take this, I'll make do with it. Leah nodded and dragged Oriton's leg in front of Gu Mengmeng. Come, return your master. Gu Mengmeng did not take it. Instead, she squatted down and stared blankly at Oriton. After a while, she smacked her lips and said, I heard that eating him can make you immortal. In that case, I can accompany my man forever. Why don't the three of us share him and have a taste? Out of topic. Who was the one who said that Elvis and Leah had bad alcohol tolerance? Look at these two. I used to have a friend. One time, he drank too much and came out of the bar claiming that he was a pleasant goat. He sprawled on the green belt to eat grass. No one could pull him away and he had a mouthful of mud. The next day he blamed us for not stopping him. We showed him the video and he said that we couldn't stop him even if we tried. He said, then why didn't you guys shout, Grey Wolf is here? Chapter 1333. Oriton sat up abruptly. As his face was swollen from Lee's slap, he could not speak clearly. Coupled with the effects of the alcohol, his tongue was stiff. He stammered, Eat? Where is it? Where is the food? Meet my meat. Gu Mengmeng instantly clutched her head and rolled around on the floor. Master, I was wrong, master. Stop chanting, stop chanting. Ah! With a scream, Gu Mengmeng fainted. Leah and Elvis looked at each other. Elvis carried Gu Mengmeng, who was lying on the ground, and heard her even breathing and light snores. He smiled helplessly and carried her to the bed. Then he and Leah revealed their original forms and placed her in the middle, one on the left and one on the right. After lying down beside Gu Mengmeng, Elvis suddenly released his beast pressure, and Oriton was instantly pressed back to his original form, directly falling onto the ground. Leah was not spared either. Luckily, he had already adjusted his pose and fainted without any qualms. When Gu Mengmeng woke up the next day, Wabi was no longer around. Only one barrel of wine was left out of the dozen barrels. Gu Mengmeng stared at the empty barrel and gritted her teeth. She pointed at the door and shouted at the air. Little shit. Just wait and see. See how I will settle the score with you next year. Elvis and Leah rubbed their noses. Neither of them mentioned that it was Gu Mengmeng herself who made Wabi drink freely last night. Leah held Gu Mengmeng's shoulders and pinched her angry little face. He asked with a smile, My precious Gu Mengmeng, does your head still hurt? Gu Mengmeng rubbed her own head. It doesn't hurt. Our wine is all natural and doesn't have any additives. I don't get a hangover too often. Leah was not asking about the hangover. But he did not explain. He just pointed at Oriton. Then do you still want to eat him? Do you want to fry him or stew him? Gu Mengmeng tilted her head. She looked at the bruised and swollen Oriton in a daze. Are you crazy? We have so much food at home. Why did you eat Oriton? Leah replied with an innocent face. Weren't you the one who said that eating him would make you immortal and accompany me and Elvis forever? I feel that this future is very beautiful. Sacrificing one Oriton in exchange for the three of us staying together forever. What are you hesitating for? Eat. Gu Mengmeng was shocked. She pointed at her own nose. I said that. Leah nodded. Gu Mengmeng shifted her gaze to Elvis, who also nodded. Gu Mengmeng facepalmed. I thought the alcohol content of the wine wasn't high, so I was very assured. But that little bastard Wabi kept teasing me and I couldn't control myself. I drank a little too much. I think I'm blacking out. Scratching her head, Gu Mengmeng asked carefully. Other than saying that I wanted to eat Oriton, I didn't say anything else, right? Leah rolled his eyes meaningfully before saying, You talked a lot. For example, discussing who was whose father with Wabi. Gu Mengmeng herself could not recall what she had said, but based on the sentence about eating Oriton to make one immortal, the level of nonsense she had spouted should be comparable to strange stories from a Chinese studio. Gu Mengmeng smiled apologetically and said, As the saying goes, don't take drunk words seriously. Leah raised his brows. Didn't you tell me before that Drunken people speak the truth after drinking? Chapter 1334. Leah laid sideways beside Gu Mengmeng and played with her hair. How is it embarrassing? You don't even know how adorable you were last night. With that, Leah couldn't help but laugh. I will force you to drink whenever I'm in a bad mood. Seeing you drunk like a cat will make all my worries disappear. So what exactly did she do last night? She had no recollection at all. Elvis and Leah seemed to be teasing her on purpose. The more she asked, the more they refused to answer. They just smiled at her, making her hair stand on end. But this hangover was not without its benefits. At least, that Miranda, who made Gu Mengmeng feel so aggrieved and awkward, was forgotten by Gu Mengmeng just like that. On the 10th day after Wabi left, the first snowfall arrived. Gu Mengmeng leaned on the windowsill and watched as Sauter slowly turned from a beautiful and romantic city with its first snowfall into a sweet and beautiful fairy-tale cartoon building. Then the snow sealed off the window. Apart from the faint whistling of the wind, she could not hear anything else. Of course, she didn't know that the bird circling 6,000 meters high in the sky, shuttling through the wind and snow, was so focused that it could see her, who was smaller than a sesame seed, through the layers of wind and snow. Only when her appearance was completely covered by the snow did it reluctantly leave. However, halfway through, it suddenly turned back and stopped outside her window. Folding its wings, it was like a drunken general lying on the battlefield, lying on its back in the snow, letting the sky full of goose feathers bury it alive. Her laughter could be heard in the rustling sound of the snow. That was good. He could get closer to her when she couldn't see him. He soared into the sky. A spirit eagle leapt out of the snow and soared into the 9 heavens. He had to protect her. Even if she didn't need it, even if she didn't know, he had to do something for her. Only then would he be able to suppress his restless heart. If his body was tired enough, he might be able to sleep tonight. Gu Mengmeng, who was in the stone castle, was completely unaware of what was happening outside. Because of her, the stray beasts did not dare to approach this place. This made her feel at ease. After all, other than the stray beasts who wanted to snatch the tribe's food, who would go out in such weather? Cupping her cheek, Gu Mengmeng tapped her own face lightly with her fingers. Don't you guys feel that Cole has been too quiet for the past year? Is it good that he doesn't bother you? Leah replied to Gu Mengmeng as he took out a piece of beast skin from the side and made Gu Mengmeng's bed softer. Then he carried Gu Mengmeng onto the bed and added, "It's just the start of winter, and the weather is getting colder. Don't be greedy or you might fall sick." Gu Mengmeng did not resist and allowed Leah to carry her up and place her on the bed. Meanwhile, Elvis sat behind her calmly and stretched out his long arms, pulling her into his embrace. It's not that I'm not good. It's just that he's a pervert who can't stand others doing well. I feel especially uneasy when he suddenly changed his personality and stopped finding trouble with me. Look, Qixian and Kamwu even specially came over to remind me to be careful. But other than throwing Miranda at me, Cole didn't do anything else. And that Miranda was easily locked up by us and will be sent away next year. Why is it so easy to resolve? Why is it so unlike Cole's style? In the past he managed to avoid it when he left his hometown, but now that he was so close to it, it was impossible for him to remain indifferent. He also had a natural yearning for that maze, just like how all the wolves yearned for Elvis. It was an instinct to get close to it. But for Gu Mengmeng, he was trying his best to resist this instinct. It was not like she had never heard of the story of the farmer and the snake. How could she not understand such a simple logic? All the pitiful people in the world must have a detestable side. Moreover, this mass estrus had been a secret of the Snow Fox clan for thousands of years. Why did she have to get involved and interfere? He had no choice but to get himself into trouble. But with her character, she just could not turn a deaf ear to those pitiful cries for help. Meng Meng. Li's body was getting hotter and hotter as he hugged Gu Mengmeng. His gaze started to blur, and he called out to Gu Mengmeng. "Meng Meng, I feel terrible. I'm afraid I won't be able to control myself. Knock me out. I can't hold it in anymore. Meng Meng. Meng Meng, I feel terrible. Chapter 1337. Gu Mingming's heart tightened as she asked, "Are you also affected by the fox's seductive fragrance?" Elvis nodded his head awkwardly and said, "The purity is too high, I can't resist it." Damn it, she couldn't even resist when the two of them were deeply in love. Now that she was seduced by the fox's seductive fragrance, if they really went crazy, she would die in bed. She didn't care about anything else as she had the power of a beast king to protect her body, and she would recover after a few days. But the problem was that the females of the snow fox tribe would go into estrus for a month, and when she fainted, there was still Miranda upstairs. Who knew if someone else would jump out from the secret tunnel? Gu Mingming gritted her teeth and hardened her heart to knock Leah out first. Elvis panted heavily as he walked towards Gu Mingming step by step. He pulled Gu Mingming's hand and placed it on his chest and said, "My heart, you have touched it once before. You should know where it is, right?" "What are you doing?" Gu Mingming had a bad premonition. Elvis's forehead was full of sweat, but he forced a smile and said, "If I lose control and do anything to betray or hurt you, dig out my heart and eat it. That way, you will have 2 drops of tear of the beast deity. With the support of 2 beast kings, you will not have to worry under any circumstances. Do you remember?" "Elvis, calm down," Gu Mingming roared. Elvis shook his head with all his might, as if he wanted to shake off the turbid thoughts in his head. But it was a pity that he could not do so. The more he shook, the more blurred his vision became. His body was boiling and he could not control it at all. His breathing became heavier and heavier, and his chest was burning with pain from his heavy breathing. Something seemed to be tumbling in his throat, and his mouth felt parched. Gu Mingming placed Leah at the side and held Elvis's face with both hands. She said, "Hubby, look at me. I am Xiaoming's partner." "Xiaoming ha Xiaoming." Elvis hugged Gu Mingming tightly in his arms. His entire body was trembling and his consciousness was slowly fading away. All that was left was his primitive desire. "If only I am not a beast king. Then you can knock me out like how you did with Leah. At least I will not hurt you. Xiaoming." "Xiaoming." Gu Mingming took the initiative to kiss Elvis's lips and forced a calm smile. "It's all right, nothing will happen to you. Was it just the fox's seductive fragrance? You just want me, don't you? I'll give it to you. I'll satisfy you. It's okay. Don't be afraid. Don't worry, okay?" Elvis's eyes were bloodshot as he hugged Gu Mingming tightly. On one hand, it was to appease his own emotions, and on the other hand, it was to restrict himself from doing anything more overboard. He clenched his teeth and said, "I can't have you in this situation. I can't control myself. You will get hurt. If I want to hurt you, I'd rather you cut out my heart and kill me now." "It's not that serious, hubby. It's okay, it's just mating. We're partners. It's normal for me to mate with you. I trust you. You won't hurt me." Moreover, it did not matter even if he was injured or in pain. As long as she endured it, Elvis would regain his consciousness once the effects of the fox's seductive fragrance on him wore off. He would not kill her after all. Chapter 1338. Once the wall collapsed, a huge layer of snow poured into the stone castle, almost burying Gu Mingming alive. This change was too sudden, and Gu Mingming stood rooted to the ground, not knowing how to react. However, in a split second, a black shadow came over and Gu Mingming felt that she was being protected by something. Then she heard the sound of snow crashing down. Gu Mingming did not regain her senses for a long time, until a familiar voice came from above her head. "Scared silly?" Gu Mingming looked up and stared blankly for a while, before saying, "Gregory. Gregory? Didn't you return to Mota Mountains? Why are you here?" Gregory sighed and did not answer Gu Mingming's question. Instead, he opened his wings forcefully and pushed the accumulated snow to the sides. Gu Mingming then realized that Gregory had wrapped his wings around her, using his body as a bomb shelter to protect her. Before she could thank him, Gu Mingming hurriedly dug the snow at the side, shouting as she dug, "Elvis! Elvis!" Leah. Leah. Gregory did not say a word and just used his wings to sweep the snow away for her. Then he pulled out the unconscious Elvis and Leah from the snow. It's not safe to stay here for long. Do you have any other plans? Gregory looked at Gu Mengmeng and asked. Gu Mengmeng hesitated for a while. She wanted to say that she could return to Saint Nazaire, but the snow had been falling for almost a month and Saint Nazaire had long been buried in the snow. Not to mention that Gregory did not know where Saint Nazaire was. Even if he knew, she would not be able to find her cave in the snow. Gregory looked at Gu Mengmeng's hesitant look and asked, "Why not follow me to Moda Mountains?" Gu Mengmeng looked up at Gregory and asked, "Can I?" Gregory chuckled and said, "Aren't you the messenger of the beast deity? Aren't the rules set by you in the beast world?" Gu Mengmeng smiled helplessly. The situation before her was really terrible enough. No matter how she looked at it, she looked like a downtrodden Cinderella. How did she look like the high and mighty messenger of the beast deity? Raising her head, Gu Mengmeng combed her messy hair and patted the beast's skin on her, saying, "Yes, I am the messenger of the beast deity. I set the rules in the beast world. If the beast deity gets angry because you brought me up the mountain without permission, I'll take the blame. After all, I'm the only daughter of the beast deity. My father will always open the back door for me." Gregory stretched out his hand, wanting to touch Gu Mengmeng's head, but his hand froze in midair and did not touch her. He turned around and landed by his side, then turned around and spread his wings, saying, "Come up." Gu Mengmeng was a little hesitant. This isn't good, right? Being on the back was a very sacred ritual. In the relationship between the sexes in the beast world, a male's last dignity was his own back. Many males would die for their female without blinking an eye, but they would never allow her to ride on their backs. Sandy and Colin had been partners for several years, but until now, Colin had never carried Sandy on his back. Ian had carried Gu Mengmeng on his back once, and almost threatened to kill himself to make Gu Mengmeng swear not to tell anyone about it. Chapter 1339. Gu Mengmeng was extremely cold. Under such circumstances, she could not continue being unreasonable. If she hesitated any longer, she would not need to ascend the Mota Mountains as she would be frozen into a human-shaped popsicle. Hence, Gu Mengmeng climbed onto Gregory's back without another word. Gregory waited for Gu Mengmeng to settle down before transforming into his beast form and soaring into the sky. After transforming into a beast, Gregory's body was covered with a layer of feathers. Gu Mengmeng sank into his feathers, and she could feel Gregory's body temperature through the layer of fine fur. The first time he flapped his wings, Gu Mengmeng could feel the strong and forceful movement of the muscles on his back. There was a feeling of clogging in her ears, probably caused by the sudden increase in air pressure. It was similar to the feeling when sitting on a plane. Gu Mengmeng did not know how high up in the sky she was, nor did she know which tribe she was standing on. She was clearly not very familiar with Gregory, but such a broad back undeniably gave Gu Mengmeng a sense of security. Gu Mengmeng laid her face sideways on Gregory's back. As it was really too cold outside, she could only keep moving closer to him, seeking the warmth from his body. Such behavior was not appropriate, but Gu Mengmeng could not withstand the cold, nor could she resist the temptation of warmth. Biting her lower lip, Gu Mengmeng said, Gregory, don't worry. I will definitely not tell anyone about me being on your back. If one day someone finds out and other females find you unfaithful, I will take responsibility and introduce you to a wife." Gregory's eyes darkened. Luckily he was in his beast form now and Gu Mengmeng could not see his expression, so he could try his best to be sad and upset. He really wanted to tell her that being responsible was not this way. His back could only accommodate her alone. If she really wanted to take responsibility for him, she should have taken him in as a partner. But he could not say that, right? If he said it, she might just run away. He should be content with the current situation. At least, he had played the role of her hero when she was in danger. She was lying on his back now, soft and light. Every breath she took was like a light tap on his heart, making his blood boil. She must not know that the warmth she was craving now was all because of her. After flying for a full 3 days and 3 nights, Gregory stopped at the edge of a cave on a cliff. Gu Mingming finally landed on the ground. She could not even stand properly and sat down at the side. Elvis and Leah had already woken up halfway through the journey, but they did not speak. Both of them saw Gu Mingming coming down from Gregory's back, but chose to ignore it as if they had a tacit understanding. When Joshua and Victor confessed to Gu Mingming, the two of them could question Gu Mingming in a fit of jealousy, because they knew very well that Gu Mingming did not fancy those two fellows. So no matter how they asked, they would only get the answer they wanted. But Gregory was different. His looks did not lose to Leah and his abilities did not lose to Elvis. With his physique, it was very likely that he would rise 2 levels after mating. This kind of love rival was not to be underestimated. Elvis and Leah were both extremely afraid of hearing Gu Mingming's affirmation, so they chose not to ask. Chapter 1340. Gregory did not say a word. He just shook his wings and flew out again. When he returned, other than wood, there were also a few frozen birds. The food here is not as abundant as on land. Let's just make do with our hunger. Gregory's tone was calm. He was not overly solicitous, nor did he have the intention to curry favor with Elvis and Leah. He was just very calm. When Gregory went out to find wood, Leah had already expanded and deepened the cave. Now that there was a fire, it gradually warmed up. Gu Mingming peeked out from Elvis's body and looked around. This is the Mota Mountains. Gregory nodded. This is one of the secondary peaks of the Mota Mountains. It's at the border. Very few people come here usually. Gu Mingming nodded. That. I haven't thanked you yet. I've troubled you this time. But why did you appear in Sauter? Didn't you return to the Mota Mountains a long time ago? Gregory lowered his head to avoid Gu Mingming's gaze. I had something to do and just happened to pass by. Gu Mingming wanted to ask him what he had to do in this damn cold weather, but after thinking about it, what right did she have to ask such questions? Gregory was her benefactor who saved her. He was not her prisoner or her partner. He had no obligation to answer to her. So she nodded to show that she understood. Then she smiled sweetly. No matter what, I have to thank you. If you hadn't appeared at the right time, I wouldn't know what to do. Gregory hesitated for 2 seconds. It's nothing. Don't mention it. Elvis and Leah exchanged glances. Their expressions were unfriendly. Both of them were by Gu Mingming's side. But they let her fall into such a helpless situation and did nothing. That gave Gregory a chance to show his kindness. Now that this fellow mentioned mating, the two of them did not even have the right to object. From a logical point of view, it was always a good thing to have someone in the family who could fly. Moreover, Gregory was powerful and devoted to Gu Mingming. He was a good choice. But the problem was, foxes and wolves were extremely selfish when it came to relationships. No matter how many benefits there were, they were unwilling to have another male in their family. There were no cooking utensils in the cave, so Leah could only roast the birds that Gregory had brought back on the fire after cleaning them. When he was digging the cave, he dug out a large green brick and used it to dig out a small basin. He filled it with snow and placed it by the fire to roast it, allowing the snow to melt into water. On one hand, it moistened the air in the cave, and on the other hand, it kept the water warm for Gu Mingming to drink. Although the barbecue will be hot and flammable, there's nothing better right now. Just put up with it for now. Once we return to Sauter, I will cook something delicious for you. Gu Mingming took the roasted bird from Leah and smelled it. It smelled really good. Grace had carried her on the flight for 3 days, and she hadn't eaten for 3 days. Her stomach was rumbling with hunger, and when she was on Grace's back, she almost fainted. Just as she was about to take a bite, she remembered that the 4 people sitting here had not eaten for 3 days. Everyone was hungry, and it didn't seem right for her to eat alone. Chapter 1341. You can eat it yourself, I'm not hungry. Gregory replied calmly. Actually, he did not tell Gu Mingming that food was scarce in Mota Mountains, and these few birds could be her entire food supply for the entire winter. After eating these, he could only tear off his own legs to feed her. He had to keep his wings or else he would not be able to send her back tomorrow after winter ends. Ha! If she was a legless bird in the future, she could only fly in the sky nonstop. Gu Mingming looked at the bird leg in her hands, and then at Elvis and Leah. She smiled helplessly. Perhaps it was because Elvis and Leah had taken too good care of her, that she had almost forgotten that the winter season in the beast world was also known as the season of death. Before she came here, the females even survived by eating their own partners. Food in this environment was so precious. And how could the males bear to share the food of the females? That was equivalent to taking the lives of the females. Sighing, Gu Mingming said, I know you are worried about the problem of food, but I only need to stay here for a month. After a month, we can return to Sauter. There is still plenty of food stored in my stone castle, and we won't starve to death. But if you don't eat, how are you going to fly the three of us back after a month? You are the most important one among us now and we cannot afford any mishaps. Leah nodded and said, That's the logic. If there isn't enough food, you can eat me first. If I can't last for a month after you eat me, then eat Elvis. As long as you can promise to take good care of Gu Mingming and bring her back to the land safely, it will be fine. Gu Mingming twisted Li's ear and said with a black face, How many times have I said this? I don't eat partners. I'm not a pervert. I was wrong. Good Gu Mingming. Don't be angry at me. Leah tilted his head and fell into Gu Mingming's arms, using his large furry tail to wrap around her waist. He smiled and said, I won't spout nonsense anymore, forgive me, huh? Gu Mingming nodded reluctantly and said, I'll let you off this time. Leah leaned his face forward and said, Don't be angry at me, just one kiss. Give me a kiss and I'll believe that you've forgiven me. Gu Mingming chuckled and kissed Li's face. Leah said contentedly, I knew my baby Mingming is the best. Don't try to bewitch me. If you dare say something like that again, I'll wring your ears off. Leah nodded, as if he did not dare to disobey her. He vowed solemnly, I will not speak nonsense again. That's more like it. Leah took over the bird leg from Gu Mingming's hands and passed it to Gregory, smiling. I was just joking just now, you don't have to worry about the food. Although it's not convenient for us to return to Sauter now, there are people in Zacharias and Saint Nazir who have prepared food reserves for Mingming. It's just that you'll have to bring me back to retrieve the food. Gu Mingming tilted her head. Why would Zacharias and Saint Nazir have my food reserves? Did you and Elvis prepare it? Chapter 1342. Although the leader of Zacharias is Burke, don't forget that the real decision-makers are Kanwu and Qi Xian. Kanwu may be rash, but he treats you well from the bottom of his heart. Qi Xian is also someone who is used to being prepared. With the two of them together, I'm afraid they have prepared enough food for the three of us to kill our way over. Leah waved his tail and said calmly. Gu Mingming looked enlightened. Since that's the case, let's return to Zacharias now. I want to be with Kanwu and Qi Xian. Gregory's face darkened at Gu Mingming's words, but he quickly regained his composure and pretended that nothing had happened. He thought that he would be able to spend at least another month with her this time. But she was going to leave so soon. Even though he had already tried his best not to cause trouble for her, not to let his feelings become a burden to her, and even tried his best to reduce his presence. But she still had to leave. Leah shook his head and grinned. Since we are already at Mota Mountains, how can we return empty-handed? Gu Mingming's lips twitched. You won't? We didn't prepare anything and you want to go up Mota Mountains to retrieve the love of the sky? Leah hugged Gu Mingming and kissed her. Then when you retrieved the kiss of the ocean, soul of the forest and heart of the desert, what else did you prepare other than yourself, Elvis and me? Gu Mingming. That made so much sense that she was speechless. Instinctively, she glanced at Gregory. After all, in this situation, not to mention retrieving the love of the sky, they had to rely on him to get out of this cave. Even if there were 4 people in this cave, 2 beast kings and 1 4th-level beast, the one who had the absolute authority in this environment was Gregory, a 3rd-level beast. Receiving Gu Mingming's gaze, Gregory did not speak and just stared back at her calmly. Gu Mengmeng did not know why she had suddenly entered a game where the person who blinked first would lose. But in the end, she could not win against Gregory with her glare, and gave up first. She lowered her head and said, "Although I am not in a position to make any requests now, I really want the love of the sky. Can you help me, please?" Gregory replied, "All right." Gu Mengmeng looked up at Gregory in astonishment. His eyes were still as calm as ever, without a trace of emotion. What Gu Mengmeng could not see through was the agitated heart beneath that pair of calm eyes. Gregory hid it very well. He could not reveal what was on his mind, or else she would only run even faster and further away. She was most defenseless in front of him when he had just arrived at Sauter, and made it clear that he hated her. The days when they didn't like each other were the days when they got along the most. Gregory thought that he might be crazy. Otherwise, why would he miss the past him who hated her so much? If he couldn't really hate her, then he should at least pretend to be good enough to let her stay for a few more days, right? You're straightforward, but I'm not in a hurry either. If you have any requests, just tell me. I will try my best to satisfy them. After all, it's hard to repay a debt of gratitude. If it drags on for too long, it'll be troublesome instead. Gu Mengmeng said heroically. Chapter 1343. Gu Mengmeng thought about it and felt that Gregory's words made sense, so she nodded in agreement without another word. She then asked, "Then when can you bring me to get the love of the sky?" Gregory slowly heaved a sigh of relief and said, "The dry season." "Ah." Gu Mengmeng calculated with her fingers. "Wouldn't that be another half a year?" Gregory said, "You keep saying that you want to find the love of the sky, but you actually don't even know what it is, right?" Gu Mengmeng smiled awkwardly but still nodded honestly. Gregory chuckled and his lips curled into a doting smile. After realizing himself, he immediately retracted his smile and said with a serious expression, "Legend has it that 1,000 years ago, a bird tribe fell in love with a walking beast. During the dry season, the walking beast fell into misery due to a lack of water, and kept fighting with other orcs, using their blood to quench his thirst. But during the latter half of the dry season, he could not even suck a mouthful of blood out of an orc after biting it to death. Seeing that the walking beast was about to die of thirst, the bird carried an ice cube down from the Mota Mountains to give it to the walking beast. But before the ice could reach the foot of the mountain, it would melt, and by the time it reached the side of the walking beast, not even a drop would be left. The walking beast was on his last breath due to the lack of water. The bird could not bear to see him die just like that. So he disregarded the rules of the tribe and brought the walking beast up the Mota Mountains. The ice melted into water, nourishing the walking beast's dry body, but also freezing his heart. He bared his ferocious fangs at the bird and said, "Since you love me so much, you can't bear to see me starve to death on this mountain, right?" Gu Mengmeng's face twitched. Wasn't this the story of the farmer and the snake? Such a beautiful love story. Why did it suddenly turn dark and twisted? Gu Mengmeng's heart was filled with malice. Gregory continued. The bird was heartbroken and nodded with tears in his eyes, saying, "I was infatuated with the wrong person. If you want to eat me, then eat me." But the walking beast did not really hurt the bird. However, the walking beast did not really hurt the bird. The reason why he said that was because someone told him that the bird had broken the rules of the tribe by bringing him up the mountain, and would be punished by the gods. The only solution was to kill the walking beast personally to show his repentance. The walking beast knew that it couldn't do it to the bird, so it pretended to be merciless to provoke the bird. All of this is a test given by the bird tribe to the walking beasts. They want to see if he is sincere to the bird tribe, and is worthy of the bird tribe's lifelong commitment. Gu Mengmeng felt that she had eaten a mouthful of dog blood, and her facial nerves were a little out of order. Gregory took in all of Gu Mengmeng's reactions. Even the slightest change in her expression was so vivid and full of energy. She was really adorable. Not daring to reveal too much emotion, Gregory forced himself to turn his face to the other side and continued. The land beasts have passed the test of the birds and can stay on the Mota Mountains with the birds. But Mota Mountains were filled with precipitous cliffs. Beasts without wings living here were like living in a prison. The bird couldn't bear to see him suffer like this, so it suggested going down the mountain with the walking beast. However, there are treasures on Mota Mountains that are coveted by the beast world. Once the birds leave the mountain, there is a high possibility that they will be used by others to steal the treasures on the mountain, so Gregory's gaze darkened. He turned back to look at Gu Mengmeng and said, "The birds need to leave behind a pair of wings when they go down the mountain." Gu Mengmeng covered her mouth in shock. Wasn't that equivalent to chopping off a person's arms? It was too cruel. Chapter 1344. Gu Mengmeng did not expect the story to unfold like this. She thought the story would end when the beasts attacked the birds. After thinking for a while, Gu Mengmeng continued asking, "Then what happened after that?" After that? Gregory looked back at Gu Mengmeng and gave a light smile. There was nothing after that. She broke her own wings, and was no longer part of the bird tribe. As for the affairs of other tribes, we have always been indifferent to them. Gu Mengmeng nodded. Gu Mengmeng thought for a while and nodded. Not disturbing is also a form of gentleness. Gregory did not say anything. He just lowered his head and pondered over Gu Mengmeng's words. He was indeed not a gentle person. Gu Mengmeng leaned against the wall and thought for a long time. But she realized that Gregory did not answer her crucial question. So she asked again, "But since the wings are right there, why do we have to wait until the dry season to retrieve them?" Gregory said calmly, "The Mota Mountains are snowy all year round and the snow is extremely thick. The love of the sky is hidden under the snow and is one with the snow. Even if the vultures can travel through the snow, they will not be able to find its location. So we can only wait until the dry season is the hottest. The snow on the Mota Mountains will melt temporarily. Only then can we see the love of the sky. Moreover, it is only at that time that you can obtain it." Gu Mengmeng tilted her head and asked, "What do you mean?" Gregory said, "The love of the sky is the source of the wind. The colder the weather, the stronger the wind. Even I will be blown away when I get close to it during the winter. And if you get close to the eye of the wind, there will be fine ice shards in the snow. Not to mention your soft and tender skin. Even your wolf partner will be shaved off by the ice shards before he can even get close to the love of the sky. Even his bones will be crushed and blown away by the wind. So, you can only wait until the dry season when the snow melts. Only then can you get close to the love of the sky. As for whether you can take it away, I can't guarantee it. After all, in the past 1,000 years, no one has been to the Mota Mountains, and no one has even gotten close to the love of the sky." Gu Mengmeng's mouth twitched as she listened. Being sliced by ice sounded like an alarmist story, but Gregory had a face of abstinence and everything he said strangely gave people a sense of authority, making them have no choice but to believe it. After hesitating for a while, Gu Mengmeng thought for a while and said, "Since that's the case, why do we still need to stay in the Mota Mountains? Why don't we go back to St. Nazaire or Zacharias for the winter? Should we come again during the dry season?" Leah and Elvis exchanged glances before smiling. "We will naturally listen to you. We will do whatever you say." But the matter of going back and forth still depended on Gregory's wishes. After all, we don't have wings, right? Gu Mengmeng used her gaze to ask Gregory, but he did not seem to understand and just continued to stare at her, as if he was going to stare at her until the end of time if Gu Mengmeng did not speak to him. Gu Mengmeng cleared her throat and asked awkwardly, Gregory, can I trouble you to send me to St. Nazaire or Zacharias?" "No," Grace answered neatly. "Why?" Gu Mengmeng blurted out. Gregory looked at Gu Mengmeng quietly for 2 seconds before asking, "On what basis?" Gu Mengmeng choked. Chapter 1345. Gregory sighed deeply, then stood up and walked to the entrance of the cave. With his back facing Gu Mengmeng, he said, "You guys can leave by yourselves if you want to, I won't stop you." After he finished speaking, he spread his wings and flew away, disappearing into the snowstorm. The location of this cave was very special. There was a protruding rock above the entrance of the cave, causing the accumulated snow to be unable to block the entrance of the cave. Hence, Elvis and Leah dug out more space in the cave. After making a few turns, the cold wind could no longer blow directly at Gu Mengmeng. Moreover, Elvis and Leah always maintained their original forms to hug Gu Mengmeng and block the wind for her, so Gu Mengmeng did not feel particularly cold. But, no matter how much space she had to move around, Gu Mengmeng still felt like she was in a prison. Although she had also been cooped up in a cave for the entire winter in Saint Nazaire, but staying in her own house and being trapped were two different concepts. Leah leaned against the entrance of the cave and looked down. He shook his head with a bitter smile and said, "At this height, if we want to dig all the way down, we will probably have to dig until the next messenger of the beast deity dies." Gu Mengmeng pouted unhappily and said, "Why is this Gregory so weird? How can he fall out with us so easily? I thought he was a good person after he saved us." Elvis caressed Gu Mengmeng's little face and kissed her furrowed brows. He said, "The males in the beast world are all good partners, but none of them are good people. The good people that you think can never survive in the beast world." Gu Mengmeng twitched her lips and thought about it. Her little face fell and she said, "Then what should we do now? He flew away just like that. We don't know how to fly, let alone return to Saint Nazaire. We can't even leave this place." Leah swayed his tail and said, "Don't worry, he won't let us starve to death here." Gu Mengmeng mumbled, "But I don't want to spend the winter here." Elvis pinched Gu Mengmeng's little face and said, "Don't be angry, there will always be a way." Gregory had trapped Gu Mengmeng here because he wanted to stay by her side for a while longer and find a chance to nurture their relationship. He liked Gu Mengmeng, so he would definitely not hurt her. The only ones in danger were probably Elvis and Leah, the two males. After all, their deaths would be the most advantageous situation for Gregory. The plan did not need to be too complicated. As long as Gregory did not appear for a long period of time and did not send food over, Elvis and Leah would definitely kill themselves and cook themselves into delicacies for Gu Mengmeng, so that she would not starve to death. Then, after Gu Mengmeng had eaten Elvis and Leah and was starved to the extreme, Gregory would appear again, and he would be able to possess Gu Mengmeng effortlessly. In the beast world, it was not news that a man would resort to unscrupulous means to mate with a female he liked. Furthermore, Elvis and Leah would not accuse Gregory of being despicable because of this. Wooing his own female depended entirely on his own abilities. If the two of them were to die here, they could only lament that they were not as skilled as others. Leah chuckled, not at all concerned about Gregory's possible choice. As long as Gu Mengmeng was safe, he did not mind much about his own life and death. Moreover, the above methods might be effective on other females but not on Gu Mengmeng. Chapter 1346. Moreover, as long as either he or Elvis was injured, Gu Mengmeng would definitely blame it on Gregory. By then, forget about mating. As long as Gregory dared to appear, Gu Mengmeng would capture him and skin him alive. Yeah, that was not a good memory. After experiencing Snake's death, Leah and Elvis swore that they would never let Gu Mengmeng face their deaths unless they had no other choice. For this weak little female, the two of them who were known for their ruthlessness had actually learned to be afraid of death. Since they could not get out, Elvis pulled Gu Mengmeng's little hand and said, "Xiaomeng, there's something, you should answer me soon." Huh. Gu Mengmeng tilted her head and looked at Elvis in confusion. Elvis took a deep breath and said, "I remember that when you first arrived at Saint Nazaire, you kept calling me old godmother. I asked you the reason and you said you had become dumb for 3 years after pregnancy, so you forgot. Now that Hutta and his brothers are already 3 years old, you should be out of your stupor. Shouldn't you answer me what old godmother is?" Gu Mengmeng was stunned for a moment, then instinctively covered her mouth with both her hands and shook her head with widened eyes. Damn it, she could not say that. If Elvis knew that old godmother was the corresponding form of address for Daddy Leah, and that it was a submissive one, Elvis would probably carry her and jump down the cave. Seeing Gu Mengmeng's reaction, Elvis only chuckled. It had been 3 years, and he already had a certain understanding of her strange words. In fact, he already knew what Lao godmother meant. But she was not in a good mood because she was trapped here, so Elvis could only use this topic to divert her attention. Teasing her was an extremely interesting thing. Elvis held onto one of Gu Mingming's wrists and said softly, I remember that when Sandy was giving birth, you said you were going to call Joseph and his brother's godsons when you were guarding the cave, so they should call you. Gu Mingming's body went limp and she hung into Elvis's arms. Her voice rose by an octave, almost as if it was a voice changer. Hubby, a man should have his own cleavage and shouldn't be bothered by the small details. Don't you think so? Elvis raised his brows and looked at Gu Mingming, smiling without a word. Gu Mingming swallowed her saliva, then smiled and said, Moreover, who hasn't been young and ignorant before? Hubby, you are so magnanimous, don't argue with a little girl like me. It's shameful to act cute. Elvis smiled indulgently, tapping Gu Mingming's little nose lightly. Gu Mingming stuck out her tongue and rubbed her face against Elvis's chest. But it's useful. Don't use it on outsiders. Elvis's words meant that he had agreed to let her off. Gu Mingming hurriedly nodded and said, I only do this to you and Leah. I don't need to do this to outsiders. If anyone dares to provoke me, I will just slap him to the ground and make him unable to get up. Looking at Gu Mingming's fierce look, Elvis felt that she was so adorable. He hugged and kissed her, saying, so imposing. Elvis and Leah did not eat the birds that Gregory sent over, because with their appetites, these few birds were not even enough to fill the gaps between their teeth. But they were enough to support Gu Mingming for 4 to 5 days. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.